Is there a release date for the Bazaar? Yes.
It has been 3 months, over 3 months, since we last got an update for the Bazaar. And with a stream from Reynad this past week, we actually got a lot of different things. This is just going to be the first of many things I'm going to be covering from this stream. If you want to go and watch it, he does have the VOD up. You can go and watch the whole thing. I'm just going to slowly release my thoughts on bits that I want to pick out. As per usual, I'm going to be diving deep on all of these things. I'm going to be speculating a lot, so I'm forewarning you now. I'm speculating. I apologize if anyone reads this as truth, but this is almost entirely abhorrent speculation. But that's what we do here. We speculate on upcoming games to see if we can spot some of the things ahead of time. Many of the things we'll say will be wrong, some of them might be right. Either way, this is what we do. Anyway, without further ado, I want to take today look at why we haven't been getting any of these releases from Reynad and the team. We were so used to every single week, or every other week at least, hearing something from the team, whether it was an item reveal or a whole video or a Q&A or something, and that all stopped. And there are multiple reasons why. The first one you may already know.
I thought I wanted to do the open development thing, right? Because I was so used to being a streamer and having this like conversation about the development of the game. And especially when we were in the prototype phase, things were changing really quickly every week. So we'd always have like cool stuff to show on the video. But then like the longer we did that open development, the more the peanut gallery would push back on objectively correct design decisions. Like they hated the asynchronous thing. And then after another game cloned it, validated that it worked, they claimed we didn't invent it. And it's like, not that I care who invented it or whatever, but it's just like there's so few people. Like of the people that are willing to comment on a game in development, like less than 1% of them are having a good faith discussion. You know what I mean? Like 40% of them want to entertain themselves, and maybe like 59% are cunts for the sake of it. So like there's very little like to gain from engaging in open development, and like long term I think Valve has the right strategy. Like the right approach to community development is fuck them.
So yes, we kind of only have ourselves to blame on this one. And by ourselves, most of the community here have been part of that small section of good feedback givers, right? We're in the Discord server for the Bazaar and our own, giving good feedback, saying, yes, we like this. We're confused about how this works. This particular feature, I wonder if it could work this way. I don't think there are many people in the Bazaar Discord server who are outright saying, this is shit. At least no one doesn't immediately get silenced by the Discord mods, because it's not a space for you to go and air dirty laundry or be pissed off at Reynad. You can do that in your own space. What they were looking for from this transparent approach was to involve us and share with us and feel accountable as well for the work that they were doing, but involve us in the process, trying to figure out the best way to improve the game. He goes on to speak at a different point in the video that I don't think I'm going to be bringing up in the clips that I show you, how scaling up the company is something he wanted to do to get more opinions inside the company so that they can create a better game, have more ideas floating around about the game, even though from both a cost perspective, but also an operational perspective, you don't want many people in your company. So yes, they wanted us along for the ride to garner our ideas, check with us that they were doing the correct things. They didn't just want to hear no. No one ever just wants to. That's not helpful. At the very least, it needs to be a no but or a no and not just a no and I think you're stupid, or no and it should be this way, this other way. Be constructive. So if we start getting things in the future, just know, be constructive or it's going to go away again. The other side of things is obviously there is a large portion of people who just did not care for feedback at all and just wanted to make people feel worse. There are a large portion of people that just get a kick out of making people feel bad. That is unfortunate, but that is the loud minority, I guess. And they also made these videos very hard. But despite these, a couple of reasons that Reynad goes on talking about here, the feedback isn't the major reason we're not getting anything right now. There is actually one reason that has a much larger part to play in us not having any updates at the moment.
But yeah, I wanted to give you guys an update on the Bazaar and kind of how it's going, rather than just complaining about community feedback being rude. So we used to do this like open development thing where we posted update videos like every week, and the reason that stopped wasn't just that we were getting very little out of the feedback. It was that like in a game, there's like stages of development, and one of the early stages is what's called like a prototype phase. And when you're in the prototype phase, you're building things really quick and scrappy so you can change what's on screen really quickly and test a bunch of different stuff. And then after you do that long enough, you've sort of settled the design more or less, and you can go into full production and build things the right scalable way. So when we were posting update videos often, we were in that prototype phase. So everything was being built with duct tape and bubble gum, and we could show visual changes and stuff coming into the build really quickly. And then people, because most people watching haven't like built a game before end to end, right, of that scope or at all, they expect that to be the momentum the whole way through launch. So they're like, oh, it's pretty much done. Surely after a few more months at this rate, it should ship and all. So I don't fault them for the expectations, but when we went into full production, you know, we had to fix a lot of things. Like we had to build the game not with duct tape and bubble gum, but in a way that it actually was performant on every device, and you could like run it like a live service game, and you could have more than 10 people on a server without shit lagging. And like we had to fix the architecture of every part of it end to end. And it is a complex game with a lot of moving parts. It's feature rich, so there's a lot to build out. So what we've been doing is paying tech debt, basically. Like we've been, right now we're in the middle of this rebuild where we're rebuilding every pipeline so that it's way more performant. Our file sizes are getting like 100 times smaller. It's just going to be building the game the right way so that like after this is done and these pipelines are rebuilt, we'll actually be able to change and improve it faster than ever, because we'll be able to like put stuff in immediately and see it on screen in minutes instead of having to wait like a week for the build to get put together. So I'm pretty excited about what it's going to do, but like, you know, that means in the short term there's not a lot of stuff to show.
So this tells us a number of things. I'm excited to get onto some of the points, but first and foremost, and there'll be a further clip after this that explains it in a bit more detail, but they had a huge amount of technical debt. They had things within the system of the Bazaar itself. They want to ship a game at the end of the day, right? Not just some sort of demo, effectively, but even a demo has more playability than this. Basically, no one could play the game. Only people inside Tempo could even remotely play the game. So they had to tear it back down, build it up from its roots, start with the very initial infrastructure, and slowly build it up. Picture this, you got a Lego Death Star for Christmas, right? You built the entire thing, but you completely forgot to put all the pieces on the inside on. And one of the pieces is missing in one place, and you've spotted that you've put a new piece in another place. There are a few things out of place. It looks like a Lego Death Star, but if you put it in front of anyone that knew anything about Lego, they'd say, no, you've got all of this wrong. It isn't widely accessible or widely appreciated as a Lego Death Star. You just have a ball of Lego. And even though you've done all that work, and it looks really close, to build it properly, you need to take it all back down and start from scratch. That is effectively the process they've been in since the last time we saw the game over a year ago. So that's the reason why we haven't been seeing the game. That being said, if you are ready to go into this full production cycle and you have finished prototyping, that means you're done prototyping. That means they were relatively happy on how the game was and knew that any other changes they needed to introduce, they could do in a full built environment. That means the game that we saw should be relatively close, at least in its core principles, to the game that we get. We aren't going to see any more major shifts. That is the Bazaar. We know what it is. We just don't necessarily know exactly how it works. And that's what we should hope to hear soon.
I wanted to tell you why there haven't been updated videos, but I do want to get in the habit of making them again. because I think there's a lot of like novel problems we had to overcome, and I think they're interesting stories, and we can tell those stories on camera.
So we might not be getting the exact updates that we used to get, but if we're lucky, and once Reynad has finished his travels, I think he's due to be in Thailand for a while soon, and then should be maybe heading back at some point in the not too distant future, we might be getting at least some stories, some small insight into how the Bazaar has developed over these past few months. And by piecing that together with the information from the stream and the information we already had, you know that we here at the Now Nearish channel will be able to piece together a lot more than just some simple stories. Now, I hope that Reynad hasn't got this far through the video, or any of his team, and they continue on despite me saying we're going to try and figure out more things. Again, speculation. I said at the beginning of the video, it's all speculation. But we're going to do exactly that. And maybe, at least for ourselves, figure out some things that are going to be coming with the rest of the game. Because we do know there have been a lot of changes.
Has the game changed a great deal since the gameplay video early last year? Yeah, it's improved in a lot of ways. There are some big gameplay changes that I think have huge effects. But the core is still the same. It is a drafting game.
So let me know in the comments below what you think the huge gameplay changes are. We know, just for a little bit of insight, that Joy has changed massively, for an example, but what else has changed? Does Dooley work anyway the way he used to? Do we still have the problem with Vanessa's items? Are there entirely new systems or different conditions? And there is so much that could have changed. There are apparently big changes, but remember, prototyping is done. The game system is in place. They're just changing a number of the things within it. So what is that huge change? What could it be? Let me know down below. And I'll be back for another video shortly, diving into more of what Reynad revealed on that latest stream.